What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This will be front brake rotors and front brake pads replacement. I've actually already did the front left, as you can see here, and I'll be showing you guys how I did the front right. It's pretty much identical. The only difference is that on the front left there is, actually I could show you, front driver's side, there is this wear sensor that you need to hook up. Basically it's on the brake pads. You just disconnect the old one and then hook it up the new one. That is it. So let's get started. I'll be replacing the front right for this video, and this will probably make two parts of this. The first part will just be the rotors and pads, and the second part will be a brake fluid flush, which I didn't do when I did the rear brake pads. But let's get on it and swap some brake rotors and pads. Before we get started, a little tip is that you can turn in your key so that you can unlock the steering wheel, and then you can rotate your wheel a little bit towards either left or right depending on where you're at, so that your rotors, you can see it's tilted a little bit so that it's somewhat easier to access some of the bolts at the back. If you have lowered suspension like I do, sometimes it's a little bit more crowded. It's up to you. It's optional, obviously. Jesus, I can't talk. But anyways, I'm gonna get started on the job to do this. And another thing to mention before we start actually is that the reason I'm doing this is because I noticed that my brake starts to like vibrate a little bit, my steering wheel, and the whole front end of the car starts to vibrate a little when I hit the brakes at higher speeds, mostly like above 50. And it just feels weird, doesn't seem natural. The brake pad still has a lot of life on it, even though there's a lot of rust, similar to the rears. If you haven't checked that out, hit the I think maybe this side, and you should see the rear brake pads, how rusty it is. It's similar on the front, as you will probably see as well here in this video. And another thing to note is that as I'm feeling the rotors, I can definitely feel that there's a lot of grooves, especially at the edge here. It's definitely like lower. There's like a dent in here, a big valley or big groove in here compared to the rest of the surface. So that is definitely not right. We're gonna fix that with replacing new ones, obviously. So let's get it started. We're gonna get started with removing these caps here. You can use a pick, but I believe I can just pull them out by hand, most likely, or not. Okay, the one cap off. There we go. And then it'll be a 7mm Allen to loosen it. So this is the sliding pin, or gliding pin, I guess. It's really sticky for some reason. I'm not really sure what's on it, but that should not be sticky, because if it's sticky, then you're not going to be able to slide smoothly. So we're going to clean this up later, and we're going to apply some grease before we put it back so that it can slide smoothly. So the next thing I'm going to be removing is this bracket. You can use a plier or like a flathead, something like this, to kind of pry it out, but be careful, hold it, because it might like bounce on you. There we go. Okay. So as you can see, the brake pad still looks like it has a lot of life left, but it's definitely very, very rusty. Next, we're going to be removing the carrier, or the caliper carrier. There are two large 21mm bolts at the back securing this, and they're torqued to very, very high torque, so you might want to use like a breaker bar to loosen this. Let's get it going. So the next thing we're going to be doing is to remove this bolt. This thing holds the rotor together, and we're going to put in the wheel hanger as well, so that if in a scenario where as soon as I remove this, the rotor just falls off, this will be able to catch it. Won't be able to just drop off randomly, even though that's not really going to be the case, but just to prepare. And the reason I'm saying that is because I live in a place where there's a lot of snow and it salts a lot. Most likely this will be a little rusty. So we're gonna spray a little penetrant on it. And we should be able to remove it with a T30 Torx. Wow, that came off. Wow, that came off way easier than I thought. That's a little weird, actually. I'm a little concerned why this came off that easily. We shall see. Ooh. It's actually not too rusty, which is good. Now we're going to be pushing back the piston, which is going to be similar to the rears, but a little different in the sense that the ones on the front, we can just push it straight back. There's no dowel or anything that needs to match up in order to let it spin. If you don't know what I'm talking about, again, go watch my rear brake pad video and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So with this, it's a little simpler. You could just put this thing on and start pushing it back. Now we can clean the surface before we mount our new rotors on. It's a little gooey for some reason, but we're going to clean that. Alright, so this is the new rotor. It's from STOPTECH, and it's really nice that they labeled the left and right for you right there, so you don't really have to worry about it. Thing to note is before you put it on, definitely have to clean the surface with brake clean because there's a lot of oil on it to prevent it from rusting. So definitely clean the surface, both the front and the back, before you put it on. I'm gonna install the new rotors. Wheel alignment or wheel hanger tool helps a lot. And we're gonna match where that pin is. Before I install the brake carrier, before I install anything actually, it's nice to use this opportunity to clean up the parts. Like this one, you can see it's very disgusting, so it's nice to now every vehicle may vary, but for my vehicle and the user manual that I have read, these two bolts, large bolts, needs to be torqued to 190 Newton meters. But definitely check your owner's manual because you do not want to get that wrong. Next, we're going to be installing the brake pads. So the side that have these, I don't know how you call them, latches, I guess. This belongs to the caliper side. Well, I should say the one that's inside the caliper. And you can apply some of the grease at the back as well, just to make sure that it is smooth or it doesn't seize up to prevent rust. So that is the caliper side. There will be another one for the carrier. And same thing, you can also apply some grease where it slides. Doesn't have to be a lot because you don't want a lot of this to be on the rotors, obviously. You just want the brake pads to slide smoothly back and forth. Now we can put the caliper back on. Next, we're going to be cleaning these gliding pins. With the clean sliding pin, we're going to apply some grease on this as well. These will need to be torqued to 30 Newton meters. Don't forget to put the caps back on. And also the retainer. Alright, there we go. I've made another mess with everything. But yeah, it wasn't actually that difficult. Just make sure that you do the cleaning of the guide pins and all that stuff. And it's actually not that bad. It took me maybe a little over an hour, including filming and everything. But it's not bad. What I'm going to be doing now, or in the next video, is I'm going to be doing a brake fluid flush. But before I finish this video, make sure, depending on what brand and manufacturer that you went with for the brake and rotors and pads, make sure that you check what their bed-in procedure is. Every manufacturer might be a little different. Usually it consists of a lot of stop and goes varying between different speeds, and that is because you want the brake pads and the rotors to match perfectly. So make sure you check that. Don't just drive off and start doing a lot of aggressive driving right away. Make sure you bed in your brakes. That can prolong the life of your brakes. With that said, that is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, hit the like button, and look out for the next video, which will be the brake fluid flush. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. So last thing before I leave, I was just examining the rotors, and the back end side, which is the side that is facing the engine, looks very rough. Here, have a look. So you can see that that's definitely uneven wear. And seems like these slots, I don't know what's in it, but something seems to have filled the slots, and it's kind of like welded in. Maybe it's the brake pad material, I don't know, but it looks very bad. And yes, the top end here also has like a very significant groove, so that's definitely not good.